him while he was doing errands that day and things like that. But it was a thing for a daughter and a father, and they brought me, and I don't really know the true way I got into the audition. I'm told I just sort of walked in, and they liked me, and then they get a phone call from my dad's agent saying they want to book me and not my dad. So it all snowballed from there, and then when I was 6, we moved to California.
Let's see, born and raised in California. I'm a California native, one of us. Los Angeles native, shout out Lakers.
We love you.
Sorry, Warriors. Tonight, Lakers are winning. Okay, so.
I'm a Laker fan.
Right now, man.
Similar-ish story. I got started a little earlier because my siblings, my father was a costumer, so he costumed movies from, I mean, you know, he's deceased now. He would have been probably 80 now. But all the war movies that you know, your parents grew up watching, or that you grew up watching, World War II films, Vietnam films, all the like big budgeted films where you'd have like, you know, Nazi films, all that kind of crazy stuff. And they were the real wardrobe, man. So he was a costumer, and a producer came into his office once and saw a picture of my older brother on the wall. My older brother's just a cute little, he was the good-looking one of all of us. And the producer was like, I want him in my commercial. And then that just kind of snowballed. My sister got into it after that, then I fell into it, then my little brother. And all of us siblings have, in one way or the other, been on television, film, commercials, whatever, throughout our lives. Some more than others.
We have a similar thing where my family then became a real like entertainment family where my sister went and did Benson, my other sister did Wildcats with Goldie Hawn. And then my dad is a really like well-respected agent in Hollywood for over 30 years. So
Awesome.
yeah, he gave up acting around 30 when it wasn't really going his way.
Yeah.
And then my mom's like, you gotta do something else.
I like the agent mode.
And he went for the Asian mode. But that's a tough thing if your heart is being an actor. To be an agent, you have to give up being an actor. It's like you could like be a manager and an actor. You can't be an agent and even be an actor. You'd be breaking the law. Like it's a code of ethic type thing. So you had to really say goodbye to it.
You're right. Yeah. And a different mindset too.
Absolutely.
So we're really just hanging out with royalty.
What's that?
So we're really just hanging out with royalty right now is what's happening.
I'll take it.
Right? I'm not going to argue with that.
I'll take it.
All right, since we got W, let's keep it moving because we've got a lot together now. Double the amount of questions. So, Tracey, Carol Seaver, how did you get the role of Carol Seaver?
Just a regular audition, or was there something else in that?
It was a regular audition, for sure. You have to understand when you're a kid actor, like, you're auditioning all the time. In any series that's coming up, you're auditioning for them. There's so many things that I've auditioned for, but I didn't get, and that went on the air. So I got Growing Pains. Well, actually, let me start from the beginning.
Nice.
I auditioned for Growing Pains, and I did not get Growing Pains. Yeah. I did not get Growing Pains. They wanted Carol to be like really like nerdy and really like performy. That wasn't really who I was. So
I'm just stealing a portion of this
I
year.
auditioned a few times, but I eventually didn't get it. So they ended up casting it, and they cast another actress as Carol Seaver. And I remember kind of being like, I was bummed because I had known her, we had worked together a lot. We were always cast as brother and sister. And, you know, I thought, oh, that would have been fun. You know, so there's some things kind of pass on your radar. Like, that looks like that would have been fun. Or some things just go by quicker. You're like, doesn't matter. And I always had a very fatalistic approach to everything. But then they decided they tested it, like they test pilots. And Carol didn't test as well because she didn't feel like she belonged with the rest of the family. And so I was in Chicago at this time while Brandy was doing Wildcats. And I was there kind of vacationing. And my dad gets a phone call, they're recasting Growing Pains, so they want to bring back Tracey. And I'm like, no, I'm not going back. So they can tell me they don't like me. Like they already told me they like me the first time. I don't need to be rejected twice. My dad's like, at this point, my age, and he's like, you gotta come back. I'm going back home for work. Gotta come back with me and give this shot. Please, please, please. And I said, okay. And I wasn't really that argumentative. I followed him. So I was like, okay, I'll go back with you.
I want to put it out there, that, and I'm not just blowing smoke. Like that, like Growing Pains was one of my shows. Like,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was one of my shows.
Well, that's, thank you, I'm honored.
And then I got the chance. I always knew you, Jeremy, and Alan. I never heard of knew Kurt.
That's funny, you guys never hung out.
I mean, I must have, in one of the events, like,
Yeah.
hey, nice to meet you, but never.
Interesting. Well,
But anyway, I was one of my friends.
thank you very much.
What a compliment.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
So then I went back. When I auditioned. And I got to audition a few times to work with the director, John Passman, because I wasn't typically a comedic actress. And so then I get to the Fight Golden Network, which was the scariest kind of auditioning you'll ever have to do. It's about, like all those seats right there, imagine a whole bunch of men in suits who are trained not to laugh at you. And you go in your audition. Well, turns out I got it, and I was sent to the TV Guide photo shoot. Some of those pictures are over there. I had to buy the Carol Seaver glasses on my way for the photo shoot. Thus, they're not the red ones. I bought brown. Yeah, so that's my story.
Hey, how about you? I want to jump in. I want to jump in because she probably doesn't know this. I didn't know this. We have the exact same situation. So I went in and I auditioned for Married with Children, and I didn't even get a call back. So they cast the whole cast except for Christina Applegate and myself. They hired two other, teenagers to play the roles, and in both of them. And those two actors' names were. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't even remember that I had gone in on the first place. My agent just kind of snuck me back in, and then I did better, and then I got to test with Christina, and we tested together, and next thing you know, this is the days of answering machines.
Well, that's what we had to do when I worked. We stopped at 7-Eleven right downtown, like right in Westwood.
Yeah, and we auditioned, and I got my mommy, me and my mommy, and my little brother came home from the test, and the machine said, well, you're Married with Children's beeping new client on Fox's new show.
Oh, wow.
I was just like,
It's a great moment when that happens.
and then I looked at my mom and said, F you, Mom, I need nothing else from you ever again.
I mean, how old were you when you got Married with Children?
I was 12.
You're 12, okay. I just turned 16.
I love that you guys are answering the questions before I ask them, because everything I was going to ask you guys is literally.
Yeah, we saw the list backstage.
Yeah, okay, that's wrap. It makes sense.
All right, Growing Pains ran from 85 to 92, Married with Children from 87 to 97. Both on the air at the same time. I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Like the number 1 and 2 shows, practically, yeah.
They were back to back a lot. Always in the top 10.
That's amazing. So,
Until they weren't.
Being never paid until they were.
being
You
part
were longer than we did.
of like the most iconic TV shows. I can't remember a better time in TV when it was like the late 80s, 90s.
I agree.
That was like the pinnacle of TV because we didn't have the internet then, so those were my shows.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So what was it like being a kid, growing up in that environment, that being on set? I love these behind the scenes stories.
Well, I mean, being on Growing Pains, like the set was just a pleasure to be on. It was really fun. It was, especially in the beginning. I mean, when everybody's just so excited to be there, and we weren't really like a family. It sounds cliche, but we were. And when I was a kid, I looked forward to going to set on Monday. I loved it. And my parents raised me outside of Hollywood. We grew up in, the suburbs in Chatsworth and in Los Angeles, and so I always I went to work, and then I went back to horse country.
Horse country.
Yeah, literally.
And what is horse country?
Chatsworth.
Or Burbank.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Southern California. I don't know California, so.
A lot of people ride horses. I didn't.
I don't. I can't fit on one. I do. However, do the pony rides. I prefer.
Yeah.
I'll
I'll do that.
I took
They,
lessons.
they won't let you want to win.
Is it a weight thing?
There's a method.
Is it a pony or a donkey? You have to,
They have
they
donkeys.
have donkeys. Okay. So he can fit on a donkey.
I'll do the donkey.
Yeah.
Or someone could ride him. I'm just saying.
Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. We'll
We're all getting
throw
paid.
that out there.
I mean, so how about you, David? Like, what was it like, child actor, being in that world? All of a sudden, you're instantly famous.
I mean, in all honesty, I'll just break it down. I was always a very shy, kind of like insecure dude, and then Married with Children came along, and then people would, because I was so insecure, people would try to give me love, like, hey, oh my God, hey, that's not like funny. And instead of like me taking that as a compliment, like I thought they were like calling me Bundy, and I was so defensive, and it wasn't until that lasted from like 12 to 17, like 5 years. Am I doing it right now? 5 years, and then it wasn't until, I don't know, something clicked at me one day, and I went, they're just trying to give you love, that's all. And then once you accept the love, then it becomes more fun and enjoyable and all that. But I was very standoffish for so long. I went out with a hat, sunglasses. I was just paranoid all the time.
I was oblivious if anyone even noticed me. I was like, I didn't know. I was so kind of like not, because my sister had been famous before me, and then when I got married, it's sort of like, I wasn't that aware of it. When people came up, it was nice, and I never had the craziness that I had to see like somebody like Kirk, like that kind of fandom. But I always liked it.
Yeah. It's a great business when you're working. When you're not, it's one of the worst businesses in the entire planet.
Well, that's the thing about being an actor. I mean, you think about like your jobs. Like you guys have a job, and you go there and you do it. As an actor, your job is always ending, and you're always having to find your next job. So it's always the hunt.
And my favorite is the accountant who goes, can't you just work out a budget? A budget? Well, this week I might make 50 grand, and next 2 months I might make 0 grand. How can I budget?
It is a weird world. It is.
How the hell am I supposed to budget?
It's worse than contracting.
Yeah.
Those guys overcharge too. No, I'm kidding.
So I've got a fun question for you guys here. Do you guys have any fun Hollywood stories, or anything from on set, anything that you guys want to kind of share?
I'll go
Yeah,
first.
I mean, tons.
My favorite, like, Married with Children memory is we did it was 3 episodes, but they were all the Christmas episodes. One being the one where Santa Claus was supposed to parachute into Al's mall and he ends up dead in our backyard because his parachute isn't open. And we're trying to have our Christmas dinner, and the coroner's taking the body out. And that was one of my. And then the other one was the experience was when we had Sam Kinison, the great and tremendous, wonderful comedian Sam Kinison, for a 2-parter, which was also a Christmas episode where he played the angels of death that came. And it's like in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, the ghosts show how bad everybody's life would have been if he hadn't been born. Well, in our version, like everybody's life was just amazing. We had money, we loved each other, it was great. So if only he hadn't been born, everybody would have been happy.
Everybody would have been happy without that.
What's that?
So everybody would have been happy without that.
Yes, but the point of the story of that whole thing is that Sam Kinison, one of the greatest comedians and just one of the most loving people I got to work with on that show.
Oh, that's a nice endorsement. That's nice.
He was messed up a little bit, but he was a great, sweet soul.
Heroic Beings was a really fun set. I mean, Alan was just a real kind of funny, fun guy. He was always making the set really lively. And the other thing about Heroic Beings, we were a constant place where just up-and-coming actors came. So if you were who's who of you're going to be famous next, probably were on a Growing Pains episode.
That is so true.
So that was fun.
That one guy, Leo?
Leonardo DiCaprio, absolutely. And who was amazing, by the way, if I could say, an endorsement. I mean, when Leo came on, he was 17, felt younger, because he was just so kind of goofy and kind of like, and he was funny. And Alan used to always say he's a mimic, and you had like mimic so well. And he didn't so well with our group. We didn't feel threatened by him coming in or anything like that. But also knew he was probably going to be really famous. But like if you say Titanic things back in the day, I always would have said no. I'm like, who ever did not?
Once I saw him in the Basketball Diaries, I knew he had no chops.
Oh.
That guy's going nowhere.
Yeah, no.
On a boat to the bottom of the ocean.
That guy's not gonna, let's say, fight a bear.
What's that?
That guy's not gonna, let's say, fight a bear.
No.
You know? So David, I have one specific question for you. It's a pretty niche question here, but we kind of want to hear about your love and contributions to hip hop. Just because we're looking into some stuff and just performing artists and getting people on stage.
I'll try to make this as quick and as unboring as possible. I grew up listening to hip hop. I met one of my idols, Eazy-E, when I was 13, 14. He just happened to be a huge fan of Married with Children already. I have a great shot of the two of us in the studio. But I just fell in love with hip hop, man. I started, someone put Mixmaster Spade Ready to Rock on my headphones when I was like a little kid. And I just fell in love with it. And Christina actually Applegate introduced me to the Beastie Boys, because I was only about black hip hop. I was like, who's these white boys? White boys can't rap. And then, so then I was like, oh my God, this is the illest album ever. Yeah. And then, obviously, so I just got into that, and then that was the writers, because, I got into hip hop early, and so the writers were kind of making fun of me with the Grandmaster B character. It was kind of like their way of like poking a little bit of fun at me, which I didn't care, because the rappers loved it, and it was a cool little character.
Did you have run-ins with Will.i.am before he?
Oh, so Will and I we're producing a documentary together right now. Will, and the Black Eyed Peas. So it's the first hip hop club on the Sunset Strip. So when you're asking my contributions, the contribution was we started the first hip hop club, all ages hip hop club that was not in the inner cities. That you had to come to. It was the first hip hop club on the Sunset Strip. It was all ages, and that's where Will met, Applegate met, who else am I missing? Will, who else is in the Stacy?
Yeah.
Furry. I can tell you guys are huge Black Eyed Peas fans. Okay,
anyways, we were listening to Bridging the Gap on the way here.
Were you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I was telling them because I used to be a breakdancer back in the day.
Yeah.
And that was Bridging the Gap was one of those albums that you could play from beginning to end and just do an entire session.
Well, I mean, Taboo is just a diehard band.
Yeah.
So anyway, this film is called Ballistics. We're just wrapping it up now. We're for the final edits. It's gonna it'll probably be on Netflix or one of these streaming services, and it's I bring that up because Leo was there every week.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's what made me think. So Leo was there all the time, and so was Tobey Maguire, and all these kids that went off to have these huge careers. The Alchemist, one of the greatest hip-hop producers of all time, came out of Ballistics. So you'll be seeing this story soon. We're really excited about it, and I'll shut up about it.
I always thought Alchemist, well, I mean, he is from New York. I mean, like, his sound,
Yeah.
I would always just kind of like, I always gravitate towards his sound.
He's a West Coast kid.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Beverly Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Beverly Hills.
Right. So, kind of,
Tracey, what's your contribution to hip hop?
I would say absolutely nothing, and they're grateful for it.
yeah, right. No, we were actually going to say, so fast forwarding a couple years, Growing Pains, The Return of the Cedars. Tell us about coming back to that role, the cast, and what that was like.
Well, that was really interesting, because the truth is, when I left Growing Pains, I was in a really kind of tricky situation in my life because I had an eating disorder, anorexia, and it kind of became public while I was on Growing Pains, towards the end of the season, the 7th season, and I had to go. I'd gone into a hospital for 3 episodes per Warner Brothers, which turned out to be really per Joanna Kurtz got into Warner Brothers' ear. And so they let me out, or I left. I was free to come to the last episode, and it was a weird time because I was leaving Growing Pains very like sad and emotional, and like in the last scene of Growing Pains we have to eat like pizza, so it was very weird for me. So then to kind of get married, I had 2 babies by the time we did Return of the Seavers. I just felt so much more like I had my footing and things like that. So I was grateful and excited to go back, but also nervous. I was a little nervous because the last season that environment was not the healthiest for me. So, but it turned out to be great. And I always say whenever I see the cast or we see each other, we don't have to talk to each other all the time, but we really have such a common bond of going through that experience that we're all close, you know?
That's family, right?
It's family. Even if you don't agree with each other on lots of things, you all have that same sharing experience.
Same is exactly. Ditto.
Right?
Now, do you all keep in touch? Is there, we talked to some guests that we interviewed, they're like, yeah, we have a group chat. We're always talking with each other. Like some of the
Avatar.
yes. They have a group chat, they're always chatting with each other.
That's funny. I was on Avatar and I have no group chat.
I don't know if Cora is the same way. Like, I don't know if Legend of Korra is the same way. I think it's like the original cast.
The original Avatar and then the Korra, they were like, forget your group
They're like,
chat.
no, we don't want to talk to you guys, man.
I would say that Alan was a great unifier of the cast.
Alan was one of the greatest people. I've known Alan my whole life. Alan, Tracy, Jeremy were kind enough to come do a web show that I produced with Sony, and they were tremendous on it, and it was just so great. And Alan has treated me like a god throughout the years. I grew up in that house with Brendan and Robin.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Robin Thicke, as you know, is Alan's son, and watching him sing and dance. And by the way, Robin met Paula Patton at Ballistics, the nightclub I'm talking about.
No
That's
way.
where they met.
Robin's-
Dude, wait till you hear the stories that come out of this.
I can't wait to watch it.
It's sick. It's ill.
That's awesome. David, how about you? Any rumors? I know you did a reunion.
So what's going on with the Married with Children reunion is, obviously Married with Children was a really hard-hitting show as far as the humor goes, and there was some overtones of racism, but only against the French for some reason. I don't know why. It was always the French, and in order to have that show be a success today. They're looking at doing an animated version of it instead, so that you can get more of the
Family Guy, like.
yes, which is the same writers.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So that's what we're doing, and we've all closed our deals, but it hasn't been greenlit yet.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think the reason it hasn't been greenlit yet is because we did all close our deals, and they went, how much are we paying?
Right. Well, we really struggled in this because ours was we did 2 movies, and before the reboot world came, and everybody's getting a reboot, and we really suffered, I think, in that of not having our Patreon in Apple.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it, like pretty much all of the main cast from Married with Children, you guys have all pretty much done animation since that too.
Yeah. Can I bring something up about Alan that I want to make sure this isn't a rumor about? He did write the facts of life.
Yes.
And
And
Growing Pains?
No, B.J. Thomas wrote the Growing Pains theme song. He wrote Facts of Life in Different Strokes.
So Alan
With Lauren.
Thicke wrote the damn for different
Yeah.
strokes.
And Facts of Life.
And Facts of Life. He wrote.
Alan
They're
wrote
a
that.
very musical family. Very musical family. I always enjoyed
game
it.
shows too that I don't want to misquote that are famous.
Yeah. He's a creative dude.
But he was always doing it. The last time I saw Alan, we were at a ComicCon like this in Chicago, and he asked to borrow my earbuds because he needed to Robin's track that he was waiting for the feedback on.
That's good. He
That was
borrowed
November.
yours?
He borrowed mine.
I hope you went, I hope you gave me
That was November, and I passed to December, so, yeah.
It's kind of like staying in that same kind of vein. You guys pretty much work with everything that exists. What's your favorite creative outlet? What's your favorite medium to work with?
Well, I'll answer that real quick. I'd like to say voiceover and BS everybody and say, oh, I love voiceover. And I do because the hours and the residuals and all that, and it's tremendous. And I'm so grateful for it. But in all honesty, if I'm going to be real, even though it's 12 hours a day on set, I'd rather be on a big budget film with some big stars making a big movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say probably my original genre of acting that I'm the most comfortable with is drama and doing movies and doing really serious work. I was almost a square peg fitting into a round hole trying to grow things to be bigger and all those things. So, but doing a sitcom is the life. I mean, doing a sitcom like the hours and everything. But I'll also say, you take for granted how easy it was when we were younger.
You take the good, you take the bad.
And we were there to have some life. But you take for granted, like, it's nerve-wracking going in front of an audience. I've had to do it since growing pains, and I forgot that why wasn't I scared of this back as a kid?
Because the older we get,
I know.
the more terrified
You were terrified we get. I had no fear. I was like, oh, I'm so good at this. But it is weird. But and you mentioned the 12-hour days. He's correct. They're long. But if you're an actor, that's what you yearn for, is to do the series work.
And you got a nice little trailer to lay in. It's not like
And you
you're
can
not
bring
digging
in
ditches for
food.
12 hours.
And, yeah, I mean, I'm a Diet Coke girl, and like, there's always a Diet Coke in California, so we treat you nice.
But the key is show up on, if you're not 15 minutes early or 15 minutes late.
Absolutely.
And be 1,000,000,000% memorized. Otherwise, you make yourself look like an
Well, the
idiot.
other thing I'm going to say about being a kid actor that's different from being an adult actor is that, from my experience, is that adult actors, there's no tolerance for a kid to like goof around, not know their lines, be silly. Really, the adults are in that spot, but they kind of be silly, and the kids, especially if you're coming just new, the kids, you have to be a little bit more serious because nobody wants to see the kid messing up the scene. And there was a lot of pressure that, like, that's the way my mom raised me.
Not with these woke kids these days.
Oh, I know. That's right. But I remember.
Top lines right and left.
Yes, not this generation. But I remember when I turned 18, I was on growing pains, and it was the first fall I went back, and I didn't have to go to school on my break. I'm like, wait a minute. This is what you guys have been doing while I've been in school? I've been doing 2 jobs.
It's horrible. When you're a kid on a set, you have to do 3 hours a day at school. Now, obviously, that's not the 6 hours that most children do but those 3 hours don't include, recess or anything. It's 3
You're
hours.
usually one-on-one with like a teacher.
But it's private tutoring.
Yeah.
I had a point. My point is that you really have to want to learn, though. Like Alyssa Milano. So when I was doing my show right next, so here was our schoolroom, and then what was the show?
Who's the boss?
Who's the Boss was right next door with Danny Ventura and Alyssa Milano, and I had the most painful. When I say painful crush on Alyssa Milano, to where I had to see her in the hallway and like I was all ready to talk and I just fell apart. And but so it's interesting growing up and having private tutors and all that stuff.
Well, I mean, we have. You can interest
No, I mean sometimes you can learn more depending on
your effort.
Your effort, like Alyssa. I was like, get me out of here. Where's the bagels? Where's the coffee? I know I'm 12, but where's the coffee?
That's how Missy was. Missy always wanted to go to college and become a doctor, so she literally had to, they had to get a more experienced teacher for her because her classes were too hard. And on Growing Pains, they would have, at a certain point, Kirby and I had our own teacher, and then Jeremy had his own. So we had a shared teacher, and then Jeremy had, so we were in high school, Jeremy was in elementary school. kids that.
Well, see, my parents, they realized that, you know, being a child star lasts forever. So I didn't need any extra education. What do you need extra education for? I'm an actor. Yes.
That was my philosophy too. Totally.
Life education, not the job training.
Throwing case is my college.
Yeah, right.
Literally.
What about the other side, like behind the camera work? David, I know you did like stuff like Crackle. Is that like acting versus, I guess, directing, producing, writing? How do you guys feel about it?
I watched something really interesting happen in growing pains. Joanna was approaching 40 as growing pains was ending, and she acted smart enough to know it's really hard as an actress to try and keep this momentum going as these ages are approaching. I'm going to learn to direct. And she got them to let her direct an episode of Growing Pains and teach her the behind the scenes stuff. And she is a really successful director right now. My brain never worked that way. I always never thought I could be technical and detailed and more creative and back to what you said, like I was always going to work forever. Like, what fallback plan? There's no fallback plan. Director. But I will say, I had in time taken on producing roles.
Okay.
So I created a show for Lifetime called Starving Secrets, and it was helping women who had eating disorders. And I sold it to Lifetime, and I pitched it, and all of those. So it's things like that that's a strength of mine.
Yeah.
Not the technical element, it's the creative. Any of this kind of creative.
Personally, for me, I like writing. I wrote the entire season of Starving, which is what you are on. I directed 4 of the episodes. But I like being in it if I'm directing. Like, I like to have, like, the first AD.
That's a fun one.
Or you know you're really the main act if you have to call action yourself. And action. And then get into the action.
Wow.
But, no, I didn't do that. But I find that if it's a congruent piece that you're in love with, and I think it can all just gel together, and it can be a lovely project. If you have a director that's in love with the role that he's playing as well, I just enjoy all aspects of the business. I just do. I
Well,
enjoy
that's a
it.
fascinating thing to find out that your father was a costumer. I never knew
Yeah.
that. And that's, I mean, to be a costumer back in the day, I mean, that's a huge thing.
I won every single Halloween costume contest from kindergarten until I left school in 7th grade to go to that, because it was the real, when you go to those costumes.
Oh, it's the real deal.
You're fucking
It's baby for
Did you go back to real school when you had hiatus, when you were break from?
No.
Okay, so I had to go back to a college preparatory Catholic high school. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I know. I mean, it was
I
okay.
got this still though, so.
Alright, okay, real quick. If you guys have questions, put your hands up. Actually, if you want
Go ahead and
to,
just line up in the middle and you get the microphone ready right now.
yeah, make a line.
Just make a line down here behind that mic stand. If you guys have questions for either Tracy or David, and you guys can ask them, and we'll I'm just gonna grab my water.
So I'll give it to you then. Please do that. I don't want to get heavy real quick, but I really want to talk about, like, you were on, what was that show? The movie show?
Oh, this is interesting. I'm going to tell you this. I felt kind of duped by it.
I totally want to know this.
I felt duped. Thank you.
My wife is all into that show. I'm just like,
I thought I got it while I was being filmed, so your reactions you're hearing were kind of true. But then they took a break and they wanted to come back for more filming. And I overheard them talking, and I think they had an angle, and it's not the correct. And this person would never listen to me. They tried to make that Andrew Koenig was contacting me, and God bless Andrew. But that he's contacting his father, not me. It just made no sense. But that's the direction we started to go to things like it's a star. Like, dude, are you trying to say Star Trek? Like, because his father his father was Walter Koenig from Star Wars. That's what they wanted. And it's just not true. He's spoken.
Why would that?
Because yeah, I mean, as much as the growing guest space to see each other, Andrew was not part of the piece of the belt. I felt sorry.
Are you guys familiar with Hollywood Medium? It's this young kid who's like in his teens or something like that.
Yeah, 17. He claims he doesn't look at the internet.
Yeah, it doesn't look at the internet, doesn't watch TV.
That's a lie.
It's so annoying when he doesn't know people's names. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. But I always felt like I was young when I watched it. No, this is ridiculous.
That's
Yeah, I
17
was.
and I'm
I'm a believer in that stuff. So I was actually very looking forward to it.
Okay.
And I thought like, oh, I would wanted to see it. And yeah, no. I know that once again, I know he wasn't going to see it. Right?
Okay. Sorry, I just had to ask that Hollywood Medium question.
Yeah. Is anybody that has any questions for Tracy or for David?